Actually, I'd probably need to.
Good evening, everyone,
What's going on,
and
Cyrus?
good news. I'm having a coffee.
Oh no, I didn't get any caffeine.
Oh,
I
that's
had
probably
lunch.
bad. Well, you could have
Yeah,
got
I need.
a caffeine or beer or water or something. I'm relegated to drinking Deja Blue because this has actually been refilled from the tap. Oh, taboo!
Is that legal?
Uh, the building here is old, and I'm not 100% sure. I tried to replace all the pipes with copper pipes, but there might be some lead pipes somewhere.
Well, wasn't that good for like kids when they were younger? Paint chips, lead paint chips, and all
You should
that.
definitely not eat lead. That is bad.
It's definitely bad.
Very bad.
Oh, yeah. I gotta go run and grab a drink real quick.
Okay,
I
that's
need some
fine.
caffeine.
Audio, how's the chat? Chat, how's the audio? Let me know. I can. There's not much I can do about it if it's not good.
Yeah, it's probably the slacker's fault. So let me be. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Look at our amazing studio setup, chat. That's amazing. It's Bearded Hardware on my TV. Hazelnut coffee. How did you know? How did you know? Watching this on mute at work. How do you? Is it real time captions?
Yeah. Oh, sorry about that.
Woo!
Did you hear my dog?
I did
I
not.
don't. I don't think she's seen me run that fast in a long time. She was barking like crazy, like
Oh
someone was running
no.
the house. It's all good. The beard guy is too quiet. Well, it's because I'm not on yet, right? Or is it sound low to them?
Sounds low. Mainly, we just thought we would share what we're doing to stave off the boredom.
Stave off the boredom.
Yeah, because the quarantine. I mean, I've been working from home a lot. You've been working from home a lot. I think pretty much like the people. It's like if you run a grocery store or a pharmacy or whatever, you're single handedly holding society together. But the people in IT are able to work from home and also hold society together because, good lord, I've been busy. But
Oh,
yeah,
this is like my 40th day, like in quarantine, because I was on a huge project that was running them for like every day, pretty much all weekend. So I'm like used to it. So I've been going stir crazy for like over a month now. Finally getting a little bit of a break though.
hmm. Well, that's good, I guess. I'm on
Well,
about
anyway,
about week three and a half, week four, something like that. I'm gonna turn myself down a little bit so that everybody else can turn you up, and maybe it won't be terrible.
all right, go for it. Let's see. Is my mic adjustment helping at all? I do not know.
Okay, chat. I've lowered myself just a little bit, so maybe
You're
you can
coming.
crank the volume and hear us both about equally well. Because I can't turn
You're,
him up anymore.
you're coming down to my level.
Yeah.
It's still a little quiet.
It's fine. There's nothing we can do.
Eh,
This is the end of week three for me, according to Aaron Barlow.
great. Yeah, so we should start taking bets now on how long it's gonna last.
My my money's on October.
October. Well, they're supposed to. What is it? Isn't Computex rescheduled to
September.
like late September though? It's pretty much
Yeah.
October at that point. So yeah, I almost think that there's probably not going to be a Computex. I don't think it will be that busy. If you ask me, which is kind of disappointing because that's my favorite. One of my favorite things to do. That's usually where I get all my like peace time. Like
Yeah.
hanging out, get to see all you guys and
I,
have fun and
yeah. For me, Computex. I mean, just going to Taiwan. Taiwan. That's like kind of a big deal for for me because I'm from the holler, and the world. Well, if anything, the current crisis shows us that the world is actually a very tiny place, and that
Right.
all of our actions contribute to all of life on this planet. And there's no such thing as, oh, we're going to dump all this waste in this other country because it's fine. It's like, no, it turns out we're all connected, as evidenced
Yeah.
by the current insanity.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Have you ever been to Wuhan?
No, I have not. I have never been inside of mainland China, just on the coast.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I've actually been to there. There was a overclocking contest in 2016 where uh, obviously I won a trip to Wuhan, China. I don't know if that's technically a prize or a punishment, but it was an interesting
Yeah,
place.
I was gonna go to LTX too. I hope it's not canceled, but it'll be uh, it'll be interesting to see if things are better by then because it's in like August, so
Yeah, isn't it?
it's got some time. We here where I'm at because everybody's been on lockdown for I think you were required to be on lockdown for like 2 weeks, but my team's been on lockdown for like four, almost four.
Okay.
We're still getting like 100 cases a day, but some of the places around us are getting like 1,000 new cases a day. So I guess we're doing okay.
Yeah, Florida's kind of getting a little bit crazy right now. We're on a stay home order now. I think we like this just happened, so
Ah,
like,
yeah.
but you can still do certain things. Like I'm probably gonna go out on the boat tomorrow just because I need a black day because I've just been working and working, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So
I think
I'm probably gonna do some social distancing on a boat.
that's probably fine as long as you don't have to interact with anybody. That's actually probably a good thing. It's like take a few days
Well,
of food and just go out to shore, make sure you've got reasonable cell coverage, and call it a day.
there's a couple of islands like right off the coast, so you basically like maybe like a mile or two out, so you can go out there and hang out. The problem is I so Fridays are usually not that busy, but Saturdays and Sundays are usually slammed. And I'm actually a little bit worried that after this weekend we might not even be allowed to put it in. So basically, they're going to close the boat ramps because boat ramps now are closed at like pretty much almost every like county below me. So anything going down into Miami is totally shut down. But we're like one of the only ones left. So I want to try to get out while I can get some time.
One of the best times I had, or one of the best memories I have, is I went sailing off the coast of Massachusetts, and it was great. I rented a pinky skiff, and they were going to try to teach me how to sail, and so it was with no motor at all. It was like me and two other people, and the other two people knew what they were doing, but it was like pull this rope and run over here and do this and do this thing, and it was a crazy amount of fun. And we
It's a lot of
sailed.
work.
Yeah, we sailed for. I was really sore the next day.
Yeah, yeah,
We sailed for
yeah.
probably like 5 or 6 hours, and just barely, had sight of the shore, and it was pretty cool. I had no idea that you could control which direction the boat went. It didn't really matter too much what direction the wind was blowing. It's like, how does this? What is this black magic? Oh, it's physics. Okay, cool.
It is pretty interesting. I've always wanted to like take a big sailboat, just
It wasn't a
go
super
by
big
myself.
sailboat, but it was one of the. It had been in some movies and stuff. As like an old, the Russell Crowe movie where he goes sailing and he's like, it was in that movie apparently.
I want to say no. I'm thinking the other one with not Richard Gere. Who's the other guy? Oh, I can't remember his name. He did a sailing movie where I guess he got almost like died or whatever, and ended up getting caught in storms and stuff. I've been caught in a couple storms. That's one thing I don't want to be caught in again.
Yeah, the rocking back and forth. I can barely. Some FPS shooters, I get motion sick real bad, and it's not good.
Oh, so can you do any VR at all?
I did Beat
No.
Saber. Beat Saber was okay, but we took turns doing Beat Sabers, so.
Yeah, because I just picked up, was it the Oculus? I don't know. They had a huge deal on it. So I ended up picking one up. I haven't played much games, so anybody in chat want to tell me some cool games that they can play?
Uh,
I'm kind of a noob when it comes to VR.
it's got to be Alex, right? Half Life Alex, because no other reason. Yeah, the whole point of this stream is to interact with the chat because you guys are probably all going just as stir crazy as we are. These are my these systems, by the way. This is a 32 core Threadripper. This is single-handedly, like AMD is single-handedly responsible for maintaining my sanity during this period because like I know it's been out for a while, but I still have been throwing problems at the 32 core Threadripper, and it just continues to blow my mind. It's like, oh yeah, let's crunch on this problem, and it's like, okay, and it's no problem at all. It's fine.
Yeah, no, that 32 core, I think that's probably one of my favorite setups right now. I mean, it's so good. I mean, if I had a 64 core, maybe it would change my mind.
Well, I've got the 64 core, and it is a lot of fun too. Don't get me wrong, but it's reserved for like insane stuff, and the more pedestrian 32 core is like, okay, I can afford to run that as like my basic system, but 64 core, that's just too over the top. I say that yet as there's a $7,000 Tesla in this because it's doing folding, so
right. Yeah, I think the Tesla makes it's a little bit more ridiculous.
Oh no, I went to sleep.
What'd you do? Oh, you killed me. There I am.
I forgot to turn the screensaver off. No!
I hate when that happens. Well, I guess you have the time. What is it? The power control too, where
how come
shuts off.
It says how come the 7XL to your left isn't the 3990? This is not an XL. This is the Meshify. It's older. It's not even the Define R7 like base chassis. This is a Meshify, and it's got the 32 core in it, and it's got an Intermax cooler that I modded. But this is also the Xeon. Like honorable mention. It's got the EVGA SR3 Dark, which is a legendary motherboard, and yeah, it's just legendary.
Yeah, I haven't even got a chance to look at the SR3. Vince hasn't been good to me as far as that platform. But I have the honorable mention, the Gigabyte C621 Extreme. I mean, that's probably the biggest motherboard they make in general because it's so huge. Bro. I've been trying to figure out cases that I want to use because I'm going to do a mod with it. That's going to be my desktop.
It'll work in this case, but you have to get the brace for it. There's like an extra metal bracket that'll hold the long motherboard, and it'll work in the 011 XL.
Yeah, but my problem is I don't know. There's not enough room in there to have like activities.
To have two what?
Activities, where you have a lot of room to play.
Yeah, yeah. It was a stretch to get two 360 radiators in there. I've got one EVGA FTW card, and getting two FTW cards and two radiators and the other stuff, there is zero room left in this case. It's really pushing it.
What is it? What was that case again?
The Dynamic 11 XL.
Dynamic 11 XL.
VC Jester says, Joe, you're on the wrong mic, I bet. I don't know.
I'm on the wrong what?
On the wrong mic. It sounded like a webcam mic, I guess, maybe. Because when you bent over, it sounded a lot better for a second.
I don't know. I think it's this mic in these headphones because I've heard it before. But maybe if I turn it this way, does it sound better? I don't know. Guess not. Oh man. But yeah, so I need to start building that Xeon actually. So I figured in the next week or two, I'll figure out what case I'm gonna do. But I'm pretty much stuck at that point where I don't know what case to use. So it's been my ongoing struggle because this board is like, I don't know if you can. It says it's EATX, but it's monstrosity at its finest. Like
it might work in the Fractal Define 7 XL, maybe.
But still, like I want to end up putting in like at least maybe like two 480s in it. So I think I'm gonna end up having to just get like some monster box. I don't know.
I like the Fractal because you can put wheels on it and then just roll it around. You could mod the Fractal, put dual 480s on top, like side by side or stacked or something.
See, something like that might be an option for me to do.
I just like having it on wheels. I've been rolling around mine at the office like a unicorn. Like, oh, I need it in this room. And it's like, whoosh, and just goes rolling down the hallway.
You can put a little seat on it. You could probably put some little electric motors in it. Roll it around and be like, hey, check out my server guys.
It's my 64 core Vespa. It's amazing.
That would be pretty good. Cardboard box wrapped in duct tape. Is that somebody's VR?
It is nice to hang out with the chat. I mean, I am paying attention to the chat. It's, because everybody's going stir crazy. Because why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun for a couple of my streams. It gets a little carried away sometimes in chat. You kind of have to be careful sometimes. But Angry Steve, I can barely hear Joe. They all say they can't hear me. I'm wondering. Here, let's see if it is the Oculus. That'd be funny. Does it sound better now?
Yes, it sounds dramatically better.
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
Here, should I just hold it up?
Yeah, that's just the entire rest of the stream.
Just hold it up right there. So that sounds dramatically better, huh?
Are you using Zoom or a custom solution for that video chat? It looks crisp. It is Discord.
Yeah. This is probably our first setup with Discord. I don't think I've ever done video on Discord, to be honest, so I guess we could have used Zoom. But then our encryption wouldn't have been
I'm using Windows on this machine because of some Linux audio problems. And that if I had to use Zoom, that would have been an intolerable amount of like spying and analytics and just other bullshit.
Yeah, I heard a bunch of companies were freaking out today about it, not using Zoom, and I guess Tesla blocked it, or no, SpaceX, I guess, one of those. I don't know.
The entire chat is like, yeah, everything is so much better now.
Of course.
We could both put on our VR headsets and just enjoy augmented reality of talking to one another while the chat looks on.
I know, right?
Mouth agape, like, what?
I feel like I should totally join that. That's
like, welcome to the future, everybody.
Hi.
I'm pretty sure that Arthur C. Clarke wrote about this exact scenario where we've just, we both got goggles on and it's like, oh, hey, how's it going?
Would be fun. Then we could have like virtual axes, and then I could be like, I don't know, you could do lots of cool things.
While Rig's like, Discord never looks like that for me. Your ISP's probably throttling it. And while we do have 10 gig, your ISP's probably throttling it.
Do you have a decent internet connection over there?
Yeah, it's commercial and it's fiber and it's a 10 gig circuit, so
It sounds way better than what I have right here. I know I was trying to I did I don't know if I guess I could probably say. So I was doing a Q&A with Steve, and I had to send him a video that was like 20 gig. It took like 2 hours. I was like, oh, I'm like, what if I have to redo the video now? Then we're going to take another 2 hours.
So. Yeah. All of our people are working from home, so it's been really handy with that. But we try to do some video editing remotely, and it's like, you know what? Let's just transcode this to 1080p because, yeah.
Well, I usually shoot in RAW, so like it was like 20 gig for like 3 minutes of video. I'm like, oh, come on. Not good. And I was like switching between OneDrive and like Google Drive, and yeah.
Yeah, we get the Panasonic stuff that does amazing raw footage, but then it's just so cumbersome to work with. It's just.
Yeah, I use the Atomos, so I mean, it actually works pretty good. It's just too much size.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've had good luck loading like the LUT in the camera that I like and like setting it as long as I get the white balance just right, and I can usually get the look that I want right out of the camera, and then I don't have to deal with a billion gigabyte files. Of course, if I screw it up, there's no recovering.
Yeah, I mean, when it was shooting with RAW, you can at least if you messed up something on the camera, you can at least go and alter. That's kind of I usually end up screwing the camera up somehow. So it's nice to be able to go in the file and then being able to adjust the exposure and stuff like that.
Wild Rick, what you might do is use a different DNS server. I know that sounds crazy, but like try Cloudflare's DNS or even Google DNS, even though it's like the evil machine, because your ISP could be sending you to a Discord server that's on the other side of the planet that you don't have any bandwidth to because ISPs are stupid.
Yeah, that's true. They're pretty bad. Some are worse than others, I guess you can say too, but a lot of the time they're pretty bad.
You should figure out how to overclock a server. It's like, no, I want my server to be stable, 24/7 stable, not like things get weird. Things get weird with Threadripper, even overclocking a little bit. When you're like this folding at home thing, I'm gonna load a million PCI Express devices in here and NVMe, and it's got the ridiculous Corsair Dominator memory in it, and even pushing past 3600 on the memory, which is usually pretty safe, things can get flaky if you've got a lot of PCI Express devices because everything runs over Infinity Fabric. So if it's not perfect, weird stuff can happen.
Which it also depends on which motherboard. Which one are you using?
This is the MSI Creator. This Fractal system is an entirely MSI system, and I really like it's 10 gig and blah blah blah, and then it's got the Corsair Dominator memory, and then I've got the G-Skill Trident Z. And this is the Xeon actually has 3800 memory because I was trying to close that gap on. I've done some crazy stuff to try to close the gap on Threadripper, at least core for core, 28 cores versus 32 cores, and it's hard to close that gap.
Well, Threadripper is actually pretty good on memory too. So that was kind of my worries when it came out. I was like, oh, quad channel versus dual channel, or sorry, your earlier chips are dual, like a 3950X is dual channel, right? So when you went to the quad channel, I was like, ooh, AMD kind of first quad channel. How's it going to overclock? It was actually pretty impressive. I was really impressed what we were able to do.
Yeah, 16 cores. If you'd asked 5 year ago, Wendell, like, hey, do you think 16 cores? You think dual channel is enough for 16 cores? I would have been like, what are you smoking? No, that's ridiculous. And it turns out it's like, oh yeah, it's actually fine.
Yeah, it's quite crazy. Well, but then you have the Xeon has hexa channel, right?
Yeah, and that's how I've got it configured. It's hex channel. So it's like I was trying to make up some of it. So most people don't know this, and I actually, I owe Jacob one at EVGA because they baked this BIOS that's on this specially for me. Servers. So I've done server performance tuning with like SQL Server and like tried to figure out how to translate this into a video. And the Xeons have something called subnuma clustering. And so subnuma clustering is like, this is a 28 core chip. It is an anhomogeneous chip, and the layout on the chip and blah blah blah. It's a single piece of silicon. It's got 3 memory channels physically on one side of the chip and 3 memory channels physically on the other side of the chip. But if you enable subnuma clustering, you can actually split that one piece of silicon into 2 NUMA nodes, and because you realize a significantly better performance advantage. And that will actually boost your time spy scores and other things like that when everything else, you've run out of options. If you can turn on subnuma clustering, you can get scores a little bit better.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a cool little trick there. It's amazing what you can do to lock stuff down, and if you really get into the little nitty gritty details.
So I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about stuff that we would talk about and stuff that the chat would maybe, because I've done this before. So you see, I've got my SATA cable here.
Yeah.
So you think about these processors, because like I watched your streams where it's like, okay, let's try to get 5 gigahertz and blah blah blah, and and then beyond 5 gigahertz on the Threadripper systems, and then Intel's got their 5 gigahertz CPUs. So you think about the clock tick, 1/5 billionth of a second. The processor is able to do something in 1/5 billionth of a second. But like, how fast is that really? And then I get to thinking about it, and it's like the speed of light is the fastest thing there is. There's nothing faster than the speed of light. And so then the question becomes, how far does light go in 1 billionth of a second? And the answer is this. This cable is about as far as light makes it in 1 billionth of a second.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
So it's like the next time you're overclocking and you're thinking about 5 gigahertz. So you take this cable and divide it by 5. And so light can travel about this far into vacuum in 1 clock tick of the processor, which is insane. There's nothing faster than that. And so the speed of light, that's a real bitch, because how are you gonna, you're gonna have to do more stuff in parallel. You're not gonna be able to complete sequential operations any faster than about this, because that's the length of the wire, wound around all the silicon.
Yeah. That's the that's the eternal question, right? Like, where do we go from here now?
VC Jester gave me $5 and says, "Are you gonna ever confess that you donated a CPU to Steve?" I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, you donated a CPU to Steve?
Yeah, VC Jester. That's what. Well, he gave me $5 and he said that. It's like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory.
Funny.
We help each other with like projects and software and things like that. It's not necessarily anything untoward. But yeah, like that. Every time I'm working on computers, thinking about the clock speed, and there was some stuff from Intel, like when Intel was doing like the NetBurst P4, and they were like, "Oh, we think the NetBurst architecture is going to get us to like 6-7 gigahertz," and it's like,
no,
what? Because like at that point, light can move about that far in a vacuum, and it's like there's a lot more silicon there than that. That seems unlikely.
Oh man,
I know, isn't it crazy? Like you think about it, and it's like light, like the speed of light. It can't. Yeah, 1/1000th of a second, and then you divide that by 5, and it's like this big. So in one clock tick, light can move that fast. And then the speed of electricity through silicon is slower than that. And then you factor on that silicon has to have repeaters, and interposers have to have repeaters. And so the repeaters take time. They take settling time and all the other thing. And so that's going to add latency if nothing else, which dramatically increases your propagation delay because the electrons have to be received. The transistor changes state, releases more electrons, and that receive-release cycle is a hell of a lot longer than that. And so it's like, oh, okay, maybe if we could like get to a point where silicon was a less lossy medium, it would be fine. That's why Intel demoed silicon photonics. So they're doing photonics for high-speed communication right into silicon, and that's probably the future.
Yeah, but how much is that going to cost, though?
Yeah, a lot. JB gave us $2 and says, "I saw a tiger, and the tiger saw a man."
Oh no, the tiger saw a man. Are we talking about that? The tiger guy. Have you watched that yet? Oh man, that's just I guess it's a big hit on the Netflix TV show. It's a documentary about.
That's the guy that wants. Yeah, I don't
Tiger
even,
King.
Like, who cares? I don't even.
It's
people
fun.
try to get me riled up talking about Picard, and it's like, you know what? I just don't even care anymore.
Well, the funny part is it is actually quite good. Like, it's kind of like the memes that have coming off this are pretty amazing. But anyways, so photonics. Have you ever got a chance to visit Intel at all? Go over it.
I got to visit Intel many years ago, but not in Portland. They had another office, I think, in Santa Clara or something, and maybe it was a research lab. I think it was in Santa Clara.
Not bad. No, because Intel over there, they don't let you do anything though. That's the kind of the disappointing part because they're so secretive that like you don't get to see all the. But they'll be like, "Yeah, you see that over there? That's like the cool factory that has it." And then you're like, "Well,
can I see
that's
that?
great."
No. Can I buy some old wafers off of eBay? No.
No.
Oh.
No ES chips either.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, so what are you doing over there on those two machines? You're folding on one, and then you're.
I'm trying to get folding going on one and make sure that it's stable. I had to 3D print a fan shroud, and then the other one I'm just farting around with overclocking because it's so like I really want to use it like as a workstation, but it also just uses 700 watts of power idling.
It's quite amazing how much power that thing uses. I remember testing it on the Gigabyte one, and I was like, whoa. Because you can see the VRM on the Gigabyte one, I think it's like, what, 20-something phases or something? Like,
yeah.
Like, you could literally beat somebody up with this thing. Like straight up go to jail. Like, it's bad. Like, I don't even know how they thought that was going to be... I don't know. Okay, I guess. I mean, it is an awesome board, but like it seems very unrealistic as far as
mass production.
Yeah, like I mean, I can't imagine they made too many of them. I mean, I think the price is like $1,500 for it. I mean, that's a lot for a motherboard.
Well, yeah, and the processors that go in them. The new one. Okay, so this has got the 3175. The 3275 Cascade Lake version of that is out. It's $4,500.
What is the difference? Just the Cascade, same cores?
Yeah, it's derived from Skylake. It has some minor tweaks. It has some hardware mitigations, but it's largely the same.
So that means they're making it slower.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. How do you feel about that? So, as overclockers, right, we try to exploit what performance we can get out of certain things. So, as an overclocker, I would want to be able to turn off that patch so I can get more performance. What do you think?
I think that you should be able to do that, and you can do that through microcode. The problem
Yeah.
is that if you get a mechanism to do that, it might be possible for bad guys to exploit that to trick a server into loading an old microcode or loading the overclocker microcode. I don't really think
Yeah.
that's a real problem, except like it's a self-inflicted wound because Intel's calling this thing a Xeon. And let's
Yeah.
face it, no, like other than like day traders, I helped a lot of day traders fix their bad Asus motherboards, but other than day traders, nobody's buying the CPU. And you could literally call it Pink Kazoo, and those same people would still buy it. It doesn't need to be called a Xeon. So
Yeah.
if you want to qualify it and do all the other stuff and like make it safe, you could call it Xeon. And this can just be like Super Enthusiast plus plus something else, and then
Well, they used
let people do whatever they want with the microcode.
well they used to do like, well, you had the, remember the Extreme Edition, like I mean, they used to
Oh yeah.
always kind of
Well,
go with
everything's
like
extreme now. It's extreme. It's extremely extreme. It's not extreme enough. This is 700 watts of extreme. I've got a 1600 watt power supply in here, and it's like it's not enough. And it's like
No,
what?
you need two. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I do have a baggie of these.
What
This
is
is
it?
a bag of unobtainium.
What is it? I can't see from here. Oh, is that one of those uh the CPU connector, right? The 12X? Yeah, I know which one it's. I actually have some of those because we needed them for some gigabyte boards
Yeah, yeah.
back in the day on X99,
It'll take two 8-pin PCIe power and give you
and you
more
switch it.
CPU power. No, I've got a whole bag of them
You
because
need a whole
these
bag.
are impossible to find.
Trying to remember where I got mine. I think I got them from High Cookie, to be honest, years ago, because we had the issue. So when the X99 came out, I don't know if you remember like the whole Encore where
Oh yeah,
the OC socket issue where like, so we used to mod like power cards onto the CPU itself. So I actually would solder a wire from like one of the EVGA powers directly to the little spot on the CPU itself, and then control everything. Dude, what, that was insane.
that is
Then
nuts.
yeah, then they finally put the OC socket on the champion board, so then they were allowed to overclock. But it was that was some interesting times for sure.
I wonder, do you know if anybody has ever attempted doing like a daughter card or something that has a built-in positive feedback regulation? Because when the 12-volt ripple and transient response, just the latency through the cables really sucks. But if you put in a bunch of chokes and capacitors and VRMs on a board that's super close to the motherboard, like just like maybe sandwiched on the back of it or something, feeding the
Did you
EPS 12-volt, it would basically take out all that ripple as long as you had enough capacitance there on the board.
did you ever see the small little mini ITX? What was it? The Asus Impact. I think it came out in Z97 days or Z87. It was a little mini ITX board called the Asus Impact, right? And the Impact basically had like almost like a separate daughter card on top of it, where it basically do pretty
Oh
much what you're
yeah,
talking about.
it was like all of the regulation circuitry was on the. I remember that now. Yeah, that's
And to
cool.
be honest, that board was really really badass because I mean I think it took every record at the time. Because it was actually really powerful for memory too, because it used two slots and they were really close to the processor, so it was able to overclock a lot higher on memory. So a lot of the frequency records were broken on that board.
So it is about voltage stability.
It is about it. Well, you'd be surprised, especially with graphic cards and stuff, man. When you see like them on the bleeding edge, it's really about voltage stability. So you'd be surprised.
That's weird. There's somebody at the door. There shouldn't be somebody at the door. I'm gonna go check on that. Entertain chat. I'll be right back.
All right, let's see what's going on in chat. I think I might be delayed, but what are you slackers up to? What's going on over there? How is YouTube, people? There must be a delay, maybe like 10, 15 seconds. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe I need to hit a refresh. It's kind of weird being able to direct a stream directly, but indirectly. I don't even know how to call it. Unobtainians for my X299. Won't be welcome here. I have to shave my beard. Do not shave your beard. Awful. Awful. Like it. Sir Nicholas, Slack Attack. Yeah, sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. So, Windows TP reserves? Is it? I almost need some after this stream. Pyro, what's going on, Slacker? Hey, Eternal Dreamers, too. Bunch of my slackers. Slacker army over there. Stephen the Jeep. Peter Lou. Can you guys really not hear me that well? Do I have to get closer to over here? Yeah, no LN2. Actually, to be honest, that reminds me I have to call for LN2 because I might need LN2 for this weekend. I have a 30 liter, I know, but I need to get like about 160 liters of goodness. Hey, long live the beard. Online coursework, huh? Interesting. Pyro, you shouldn't have shaved your beard. That's some BS. And Eric, you need to keep on growing the beard. You don't shave it, you'll lose your manhood. If you fold up your beard, you have a built-in face mask. See, this is what I use for the face mask. Right? I don't know how this comes out, but all right, good. I'm enjoying seeing Tech Odin and Tech Sith in the same stream. We hear you. When you stop talking, it abruptly cuts off. Yeah, it's probably because I don't know. This is kind of something I don't really use Discord that much, so it's kind of a little awkward. Are most people here Windows? I guess so. Mel Gibson's here. Do you own an airboat? I wish I did. To be honest, no. I own a jet boat, 19-footer. It's great for the Gulf sands because I don't know if you've ever been to the Gulf side of Florida. It's pretty much mostly sand, and you could look out for miles, and it's pretty much like 10 feet deep. So you got to be a little good. Let's see. No, 30 years and I have practically no facial. Beard vitamins, broski. Beard vitamins. That'll be a good time to try switching mics in Discord. I don't know, because we got a lot of going on here, so you can see, obviously, the screen coming, but we're doing a couple different things. I know as soon as I kill this stuff, it's probably going to be going to crap. But that's a good question. Talk about your day job. So my day job is basically I do what's called identity and access management. So it's basically how you handle a person's identity throughout a corporate environment. So I'm the guy that builds all the connections and basically takes everything over and automates it. So, but right now I'm pretty much on lockdown and jobless. So I think I'm actually going to be doing YouTube from now on, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's a little weird right now because a lot of companies have frozen hiring or freezed hire, froze. Yeah. The hiring is basically interesting right now. So I figured, why not? I'll just do YouTube instead with you fine folks. Even though it might be Windows. I do Linux too. The problem is with Linux though. Was it the voice detection threshold on Discord is causing the cuts? Well, I think I turned it off, but I'm afraid to touch anything because we have so much going on right here that it might mess some stuff up and I might lose you. So if I try to test too much, let's see. How is that? Does that sound a little bit better? You guys let me know in the chat. How does it sound? Get that $600 employment? No, they didn't fire me. It's just I just happened to be running off a contract. So I work on contract basis. So I'll go for different company to company. So it just so happens that right now I'm running off and it's a bad time for hiring. So I'm kind of at the point where it's cool. Is a Radius server worth it for small business? I'm trying to think of what the real benefit. I'd have to brush up on Radius servers. It's been a while. I'm just watching YouTube. Audio's fine. Very hard. You recommend YubiKey, MFA keys? I don't even know what that is, buddy. What directory service solution do you prefer? Well, let's see. Actually, I am really proficient in LDAP. So I use Active Directory because it's pretty much the go-to now. I've done several things with like Sun One Directory, like a bunch of different stuff. So, but yeah, I do a lot of C# development when it comes to I do database work, work with Oracle. I do a lot of different things. I'm like a jack of all trades PC dude. That's why he got me his Tech Odin. This is the busiest I've ever been. Support, fix, remote access VPNs for work. That's a good job to be in right now because everybody and their mother is like it. Sack Baggins, what's up, broski? Nice to see you over here. It is really weird that like I'm like all the way through. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I've hijacked his channel. I am the new level 1 tech. Quick, Joe, call Gamers Nexus Steam and have him stream on your stream on Wendell's stream. Streamception. That is amazing, Wildrick. You know, that would be kind of funny. Hold on. Let's see. Let me see if he's available. That'd be kind of funny. Your voice is fine, dude. Don't listen to these people with subpar hardware. Yeah, upgrade your hardware. Get Threadripper 32 core. Let's see. Should we? I think we should call up Steve. I think that might be fun. Let me just see. He might be busy because Steve, he's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. So, what's the biggest hardware screw up you caused? I've never had a hardware screw up.
I'm back just in time for Mentat Tag to say, "Your voice is fine, dude. Don't listen to these people with subpar hardware."
You like that, right?
Yes. Actually, you do sound better since you moved closer to the whatever.
Well, I just changed that setting. Remember the setting that I was telling you that I changed, and you're like, "Yeah, I sounded good."
Mm-hmm.
So I went back in there and I changed it again. for some reason, it like didn't take hold. Actually, is it bad again? Hold on, maybe I messed it up.
No, it sounds good right now. See, that's what it was doing before. Is like you would sound good for a second, and then you would talk, and then it would just go blank. So, I don't know. Dixon Software Solutions says, ever do any CUDA or other GPU development? Yes. It's not fun. Although it's less not fun than it used to be. So
it's less not fun. I love it.
There's actually pretty good libraries now. Somebody go check on Wendell, $3.50. So that was a wellness check. That was the first time that's happened. They were just going door to door to make sure everybody's okay, and it's like, are you guys contagious?
Yeah, that seems like it would have almost an opposite effect. Like, I don't know. I guess it could be one way or another. I don't know. And thanks for the compliment on the fantastic beard. You're probably talking to me and not Wendell.
Yes. So all the haircut places here are shut down. No, so I haven't even bothered. I've barely bothered to shower. So like all the video conferencing and stuff, yeah, definitely only getting dressed from the waist up.
Oh man, I can smell you from here.
Yeah, not a pleasant situation. I've been trying to clean the office. I have not succeeded.
I'm not a very good cleaner.
It's been nice weather at least, so there's that.
Well, that's the thing. This is like my favorite time of the year. So like looking outside, like here in Florida, dude, it's absolutely beautiful right now. I think over the weekend it was like 85 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, like. And here I am, like looking out for my window, like, oh yeah, the window's over there, so I get like a little peek of light. Nothing. Like, hi. I'm in my little cave.
Jedi Master Zon says the MacGyver look. Yeah, I just got to grow out the mullet a little bit more, and I'll be all set.
Technically, well, I cut off like 4 inches, but yeah, I could have rocked the mullet. That would have been cool. Then I would have been like the tiger guy.
I like every time somebody is talking about the Tiger guy and some of the other stuff. For some reason, I can't get Chuck Testa out of my head.
Get who?
Chuck Testa. It's an old
Who's Chuck?
meme. It's an old meme, but it checks out. He was a taxidermist, and he had just this.
Oh, okay. I know who you. I know what you're talking about now.
I think it's funny though because it's like somebody figured out the formula for doing things that would become memes and viral, and they got it right with Chuck Testa, and the same group did like it was like distressed, repossessed mobile homes. So it was like somebody would buy a mobile home, didn't make their payments, and so it's a piece of property. It would be forcibly repossessed, but you get the feeling that like it was repossessed with like a tire iron, and like maybe the people tried to take the appliances out and stuff, and so it was like the advertisement was like, these are distressed mobile homes. They've seen some shit. If you want that, that's what we got. If you want something else, that's not what we got. So you're going to be doing a little DIY and fix them up, but it's a good deal. You have to watch the commercial. It's just really funny.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
I
I'm gonna definitely see that.
was like, this is my brother Carl. That scar on his face was from when he was repossessing a house. It was just like, oh my god.
It's when you strap your truck to the trailer and you pull the trailer. Oh man, there's a lot of people from Florida I'm seeing in here. Possum Jenkins, we got another person that was up there. Oh, it's so weird out. Have you been outside at all? Like
No, not
I've
really.
been.
Well, a little bit. I did. I've been trying to do chores around the house that I've been putting off. So like, there's
Oh yeah.
there's like a spot on the roof that is. It's not. I don't want to call it a leak, but it's definitely it's letting some rainwater get under the roofing membrane, and so it's like,
Uh,
okay, I'll go on the roof and fix that. And then there's some electrical work around the house that needs to be done, and so it's like, I guess I'll go ahead and install that GFCI breaker and run some new 12.2 Romex.
that's how it's been the whole time. You know how many people have sent me like garage photo pictures? Like it just be like, yeah, I finally got to go through my garage. I'm like, you want to go through mine next? No, but it is funny. Like people are like really don't know what to do with themselves, so they're like doing all those things that they've been putting off that don't want to do. It's quite interesting.
It is
I know. I
interesting, but it's also, I mean, it's been surprising. I mean, I've been fortunate in that I've stayed busy, but you know, the tail end of the whip is coming, and
Yeah.
it will be bad for you work in IT too, and so it will be bad for us, but I don't know when. Because I think that the unemployment is like over 6 million at this point in the U.S.
It hit like 6.6 million today. They
That's
said.
that's it's not good.
Yeah, it's kind of. But so we were. I actually. I think when you were out the room, they were talking about like what I do for a living and stuff like that, and I was basically going how I'm a consultant, and but I'm a like a single company guy, so we're one of. I just happen to be running. I think I told you I just happened to be running off of a one contract. Usually, I'll wait a little bit, take a break, and then go into another contract, and it just so happens that this whole thing started during that time frame. So there's a lot of freeze hirings right now, which
Oh
is
yeah.
kind of one of the things that really kind of messes me up. So, but we'll see. We could always do this YouTube thing.
I'm hoping that I'll have more time to work on the YouTube thing during this, but so far it hasn't happened. It's if anything, I've been more busy. There was a couple of
Yeah.
projects that I had where they were like, okay, we don't want to cut off the budget. We actually want to give you more budget, and you need to redirect it into building things to help people work from home in the company.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
like projects that were on like a 2 or 3 year timeline that were meant to really help satellite offices do business with the main office on the internet, like those are all being done now and like at an
Yeah.
accelerated schedule. They're like, skip the spinning rims, we don't care, just get it online, and it's like, oh okay.
Yeah. It's quite crazy. I know like school systems and stuff because I do a lot of school systems as far because there's always a lot of turnaround, right? You have kids that come in, kids leave. So you have lower education, and then you have like the higher ed type stuff. So you have like K through 12, and all of them. Although you got to figure all those kids in school and stuff like that, they're all getting basically shoved online. So they have to have laptops and they have to make sure all your remote connectivity is good. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of crazy how budgets seem to be shifting to certain things and then not going to others.
Yeah. Well, of the 6 million people, a lot of those are not coming back. I think I would say that those jobs are just there. If everything were okay tomorrow, a lot of those jobs would not come back. But I think
Yeah.
also IT is changing. I worked on a video on this on the break, and it'll probably be out in a few days. But the spoiler of it is, or the teaser for it, for the 600 or so people that are still with us, is that the face of IT is changing, and so like for what you're talking about for the remote work and all this other kind of stuff, IT technician stuff is basically gone or will be gone. This is accelerating it. So,
Yeah.
like, a laptop is basically an appliance. And
Yep.
if you've got a company that's got their shit together, they will be at a point where you just log in. And when you log into the portal, not only does it do all the security checks and whatever lockdown is necessary of your device, it also deploys all the software. Everything
Yep.
exists for that in the Linux world, everything exists for that in the Microsoft world now, finally, and it doesn't cost a lot and it's not complicated to set up. So even, I mean, the Fortune 500 company's been doing that forever, but now, a 12-person company has access to the same technology.
Yeah, it's the cloud, right? So a lot of people. So what I do too is I do cloud sync. So it's basically how building your cloud environment and stuff like that. So they've been doing that for quite a long time now. So
Yeah.
it's a matter of time where you probably won't have too much on-premise stuff anymore, and must be cloud stuff too, which is kind of
Inquisitor
scary.
BC says, "Thank you for keeping me sane while I'm essential." And Mintat Tag says, "Wendell Beard Hardware as unemployed ATM, hire him." Hmm. The
Yeah.
So in the video, I'm going to talk about Microsoft Autopilot because I've been using Autopilot for about 6 months, and so like this machine here that's set up, I signed in with the Level 1 Autopilot account, and so like just a fresh Windows install, and it's like, hey, do you want to log in with a Microsoft account? You know the bullshit where it's like, no, I want an offline account.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Our organization is enrolled, so if you log in with a Level 1 Tech's email address, not only does it configure the machine, it automatically defaults to a benchmarking profile. So as soon as I log in, it's downloading Steam and configuring
Yeah,
Steam and
everything
downloading
clicks in.
Ada 64 and like all of the benchmarking software, all the scripts, everything I need on the desktop is a shortcut. It's completely automated.
Yeah. It's amazing how much automation you can do. You can pretty much automate everything. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, at that
I
point,
know that.
if you're in a big company and it's like your laptop dies and it's like we can't, do the Windows 10 reset, just go to the Microsoft store and be like the hardware is broken, give me a new one. Sign in with your account and then all the stuff you need for work is there immediately, automatically.
Yeah, we call that usually. Well, that happens a lot for my industry because so we automate the like onboarding, offboarding. So like if you get hired, building all that information in the background. That's usually what I do. And then say you did something bad, say you pushed a bunch of service packs down to the servers or something. I basically pull you out of the system
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, and then I
yeah.
like, well, on the server side, it's like, oh, server technicians, blah blah blah. So no, the other thing that this insanity, the pandemic has done is the people that used to do provisioning servers and things like that, that's all been concentrated. So companies don't even care about that anymore. It's like I'm just going to spin up VMs. Or now you have companies like Liquid
Oh,
that are doing their switched PCIe fabric. So it's like I've got racks and racks of servers in the company data center. I'm going to dynamically rearrange and reconfigure servers and just migrate all the jobs. And so like the same way that you manage VMs in AWS, you manage bare metal. It's the same API.
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how you figured 20 years ago, but at least about 20 years ago is when I started around Y2K time. Like not started, but professionally started. I had my first IT job back 20 years ago. And what a different time. Like, what a different time.
Remember, it's like when a full day might be, you might replace 5 or 6 keyboards, a couple sticks of RAM, and like a hard drive. Those days are gone.
Well, I usually I miss those times though. So like back then, I used to do a lot of tech support and stuff like that, and I always actually enjoyed going over to like who's having an issue because we just have a lot of fun. Obviously, I like to talk and just have fun and joke around in general. That was one of my favorite times, but unfortunately. tech support doesn't necessarily pay the bills as much as other parts of the niche market, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, yeah. It turns out that people will pay more for the stuff that's complicated they can't figure out than the other stuff. Of course, you get to a point where with some clients, they're just not capable of learning what they need to know, and they're not willing to hire people that can get their head out of their butt. And so then they just get mad at you because it's like, oh, you have all the answers, and it's like, yes.
you're welcome.
I mean, I'll be happy to train you, but we've been over this, and you have the memory of a goldfish. So I'm doing the best that I
Oh,
can.
that drives me nuts because I actually see that a lot. Because I'll do teaching and stuff, and I'll teach like the product, and I have to usually teach it to the people that are going to use it. And there are some ones that look at you with that like that look, like ghost in the headlights, where like you explain it 20 times, it don't matter what how you explain it, they're just not going to get it.
Yeah, I've literally seen people get like table flippingly angry when I anticipated a way that they would misunderstand something, preemptively explained it to them in email, and then like a month or 3 months later, they finally caught up to where I thought that they would be in the email, and they're like, "No,
Yeah,
we went over this." Blah blah. They're like, "No, we didn't," and it's like, "No, pull up the email. The subject is this, and read it now, knowing what you know now." And they're just like, "Wah!"
that's too funny.
Zach
Oh
Baggins.
man.
Zach Baggins gave us $5 and put me in a very difficult spot and says, "Oh, I'm glad you didn't call Stevie, and I didn't want to see 30 minutes of graphs today." Hey, those graphs are amazing. Those graphs are like the dedication required to do that. Like I want those kind of graphs on motherboards because I
It's
couldn't
true.
find any kind of resource like when I first started out in this for motherboards. Like, what features does the motherboard have? Does it work well under Linux? Does all the peripherals work? What are the IOMMU groups like? Like 5 or 6 other things. And there was nobody doing that. But Steve does
Yep.
that with graphs. So when you need those graphs, they're worth paying for.
Don't be hating on those graphs because they're done very well.
JP says, we have a client for 5 years that forgets how to log in. I'm okay with forgetting how to log in. They just got to be willing to pay me for their time, or for my time.
Yeah, right. We have a client for 5 years forgets how to log on. It's probably because they threw out their password. Where they put the
The post-it note on the bottom of the keyboard.
post-it note. Yeah,
Steve
they were
Burley
like,
gave
oh,
us $5 and says, my comment just got retracted for some reason, but the two of you, Steve J and Linus, should all live stream in the OC competition against each other. I'm not, it turns out that I'm not super good at overclocking because I want the system to actually be stable. And there are some people that are like, oh, I just barely squeaked through Cinebench. Let's call that a win. And it's like it's looked like a kaleidoscope on the display. I don't think this is a good overclock. It's fine. It's fine.
there is that fine line of what is stable, right? So in overclocking world, we have say R15 stable, or we have like R20 stable. So like just because they're similar doesn't mean they're going to be this. The stability is not going to be there. But for something that is like server based, you're going to want to obviously have something. Maybe you just go up one multi, mess with RAM just a tiny bit. I think that RAM is probably the scariest one to do on a server because you never know what kind of stuff you're going to introduce. But that's where benchmarking software comes in. So you can do some epic stuff. Where are you going over here? Oh, I think I need a break real quick. I got to run to the bathroom. Can
Alrighty.
you
I'll keep chat
occupy the
entertained
chat?
by juggling Threadripper CPUs.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Literally, the cabin fever. It's gone to my. Somebody's gonna be playing this clips of me back to me at some point in the future. I'm gonna be very disappointed in myself. For you, chat. We're doing this for your mental health, just to hang out and say hi. RGB sandals. That might be something for LTX. I gotta look into that. ARGB sandals. Tat Tag says, I'm coming for you, and I don't hire hardware. Thanks, Mintat Tag. What would you do? What did you do with that 4x3 monitor? It's over in the floor. You're talking about The Dell, like the 4x3 monitor. I can get that and talk about it if you want. Woo! Follow-up video for the threader for 3rd gen memory. You know, I've been experimenting with the 64 core and different memory timings, and it's fascinating. So this is the G.Skill 3800 kit, and it turns out that if you're running your memory on the ragged edge, that you can get DDR4 PHY retries. So it's memory errors, but it's not actually memory errors from memory stored in the memory. It's memory errors from the interface between the memory and the CPU. The DDR4 mechanism has some built-in retransmit, retry stuff built in, and you don't have good visibility to stuff happening with that in the system. And so sometimes when your system's on the ragged edge where the information at rest in memory is not being corrupted, but it is something is happening in transmission, you can actually hurt your performance with a slight overclock. It's really interesting. They're really interesting. But I haven't really like figured out a way to qualitatively like communicate that in a video.
What did you not communicate?
You can. It's possible to overclock. I've got a couple of kits of memory where you can overclock them and they don't introduce corruption, but you're running on the ragged edge, and so you get a lot of DDR4 PHY retries, and so it's a different kind of memory corruption than has been seen in the past because the information in the memory is not corrupted. It's just when it's transmitted from memory to the CPU, an error occurs. It knows an error occurs, and so you get a retry. And if you get enough of that happening, you can actually have your system on the razor's edge where the performance is mysteriously terrible, but there's no errors occurring. And it's because the writes are already slower in the timings, but the reads are too fast, and so it doesn't settle. And so it's like, what is going on with this system? And it's like, well, it's because you're on the ragged edge. But there's not really performance counters to figure that out.
Yeah, it's kind of a black art, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh man. Whew. Anytime I gotta go to bathroom, man, I can't comprehend things. I can't think. It's not good. Let's see. So anyway, so what, you playing any games? Well, I guess you're not doing anything Slack life wise. You're just basically working the whole time, huh?
Yeah, I did get to play Resident Evil 3 because AMD sent me Resident Evil 3, and they were like, look, we got our drivers fixed, because I kept sending them lots of complaints about the drivers, and it was like, here's this problem. And they're like, we're not seeing that problem. I was like, here's a video with steps to reproduce that problem. And they're like, okay, yeah, we're seeing that problem. And and they like the newest Adrenaline actually fixes a lot of stuff, like pretty much all the problems that I found. And Resident Evil 3 is insanely like I can play it at 4K on a 5700 XT with RIS because you know you're not gonna play it native on the 5700, but RIS is actually good. Like it's actually like if it wasn't so good, I wouldn't say you're playing quote unquote 4K, but it actually does it's you have to see it to believe it, but it actually does a really good job, and it's available on Team Green too.
Yeah, I'm kind of debating. I haven't played any games in a while. I'm kind of slacking when it comes to games. So I usually like any type of shooter game or like drive cars game. Obviously, I'm a big time car nut too. So I love the race cars and in real life with motorcycles and all that stuff too.
I used to race remote control cars, RC10s, the RC10T, the truck variant. I did all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I filed my own modified little gears and built like, okay, this is going to be a low rider, and it's like, okay, this is oil filled shocks, and this is an oil filled whatever. I got pretty good at that.
Well, they got gas ones. You got the electrical ones are probably easier now, but yeah, I remember playing with like a lot of the nitro cars and stuff, right?
I did the electric ones, and with it was like I remember I saved up and I got a Novak speed control, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. It was all like used and say at the race meets it was awesome because like somebody would wipe out and their thing would explode and they would be so frustrated, and I'd be like, oh, I give up, and it's like I'll give you $20 for the crumpled heap of crap, and they're like, all right,
I'll
sounds
take
good.
That. That's great. I feel like a lot of people are gonna probably do that now. I bet you a lot of. So I was thinking about selling like some stuff, but I feel like it's a bad market right now.
Yes.
To sell stuff. So it's kind of like, it's always my luck too. But yeah. So you ever try an electric skateboard?
No.
Yeah, most people are a little sketched out by them, but that's usually what I do. I ride them around as my kind of get out of the house type thing, where it's practicing social distance. So I'll ride around the town and basically just kind of stay away from everybody and just run through the roads. Like I can literally run on some of the main roads right now that there's no traffic whatsoever. It's kind of the most strangest thing there is. So like where there's a shit ton of traffic usually, basically I'm riding down in the middle of the road doing like 25, 30 miles an hour on an electric skateboard. It's quite interesting. So
I think I lack the coordination and the rhythm in order to be able to do that. I have no sense of timing. It's
no sense of timing.
yeah. I mean, it was like even just like driving a car is very challenging for me.
How so? Well, I guess if you have a Tesla now, you can just set up autopilot. But
Well, no,
it's
just
perfect for it.
like I because no sense of timing and not like sometimes I will be thinking about something and not realize how much time has passed and critical
Oh
events
yeah,
involved in driving may have occurred and that would be bad.
that definitely would be bad. If he crashes his beard, will it break his fall? Yes, it will. I've had it happen. Actually, the other night, I think I busted my butt like 2 or 3 times. It was one of those days where it just like I hit a crack and just go flying.
I like I think I think it was Judge Dredd. Like in Judge Dredd, like he wrecks the car, but the car fills up with like non-Newtonian foam. So like the car crashes, but instead of an airbag, the inside of the car is just filled with foam. But
Probably a good idea.
yeah, but it you know it cushions the thing and you know the other thing. So I
Wasn't
was
it
like,
the
oh, we
older
need
one?
that. Like, why don't we have that? That sounds amazing. We don't have that.
Don't we? Wasn't there two Judge Dredds? There was the original one, right? And then there's a second one, isn't there?
I think it was the one with Sandra Bullock.
Yeah. That's the one that I was thinking too. Because then I think there's a newer one, but I haven't seen that one in like years. Building a PC. See, that's a great thing for this whole quarantine thing. Is like you could totally build a PC as long as you got the parts or the money to spend on it.
uh, somebody, what was it?
Oh, it was Demolition Man.
Oh, Demolition Man. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. See, I get details like that wrong all the time. Like I see, I'm mentally the movie's playing out in my head, but until I get to the credits, I'm not going to remember what the movie was called correctly.
Ah, that's right. It's the three seashells. Yeah, because we were talking about that because of the
Dave
toilet paper thing.
1D0V gave us $20 and says building a PC in quarantine, learned a ton from your channel. Thank you. Well, good job. It turns out that like anything that you have like is thinking. Steve Burley gave us $2 and says, Joe, have you tried the electric one wheel?
Actually, it's a funny story. I was riding my board around, and all of a sudden, this guy came up to me. I just happened to just jump off the board because I'll ride it. That's pretty much the most thing I ride. Like when I go around, I'm always on a board. So I ended up just like stopping. And he's like, "You want to? Can I try your board?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we switched. So his girlfriend goes, it's kind of hard that you're gonna have to sit. And I just jumped on and just rolled off, and her mouth just dropped. It was so funny. I mean, the one wheel is cool and all, but I love the stability of the board. I've literally made my own board. Like I've customized a boosted one and uh, got like my board is like monsterish. Like it's obviously it's my size, so it's basically like a monsterish board. So, but yeah, it was funny. She basically was like, okay. She thought I wasn't going to be able to ride it. She thought it was harder. It's cool though, but I'm used to having a controller in my hand. So like if I'm riding a board, you usually basically you're using like a thumb controller or something, and on the one wheel you basically are like leaning into it. So it is a little awkward. It's kind of hard to get to, but they're pretty cool too. But I still love my boards.
I can ride a bicycle well. That took a lot of work.
Took a lot of work.
A lot of injuries.
I was just watching that. There's this one kid on YouTube. It's they call him Caden BMX. This little dude is 8 years old and he can do like backflips and stuff on a bike, and it's just like, man. I mean, it's a kids channel, but it's so good. Like I was just watching it because, like, man, so jealous that an 8-year old can do that stuff. He's doing it, going to like Travis Pastrana's like the Nitro Circus thing.
Yeah.
Like he's going to his like house and stuff. I'm like, man, this kid's got it made at 8 years old.
Yeah, that's
Kind of
insane.
crazy.
Like I've seen some people like riding the thing like down the dirt bike track, and they're like you're going like 70 miles an hour around a cliff, and it's like there's just a sheer drop, and it's like okay, I would already be dead if that were me.
Yeah, I would have fell off the edge a long time ago. No,
It's
that's funny.
generally very impressive that people are able to do that. I guess it takes thousands of hours of practice and training.
Well, I feel like a lot of people are naturals at it though. Like I do a lot of. I used to do a lot of biking and stuff when I was younger. I used to do like dirt jumping, but then like I grew up and like so in high school I basically went from like a small guy in 1 year to a big guy. Like I grew a foot in 1 year. So like all that BMX stuff and like skateboarding, I used to do like rollerblading, all sorts of crazy stuff. And in that 1 year, man, everything changed for me. It made it much harder to be able to do like BMX dirt jumping and stuff like that when you break the bike as soon as you land.
JP says Supermicro versus Dell versus Gigabyte versus IBM versus HPE. Ah,
Ooh.
I like Gigabyte because Gigabyte sent me stuff and it's well put together and there needs to be more competition. I really like Supermicro. Supermicro generally does a lot of testing. Dell and HP really only test for like their specific configs that they sell, and if you color outside the lines on that, they're just like, no. Mentat Tag and Steve Burley says, let's call Steve. I was like, let's not bother Steve. I'm sure Steve's busy.
Well, that's the problem. But it is always fun to kind of call Steve and like bust his balls. I do it all the time, but then there's sometimes he just ignores me because he knows I'm just probably messing with him. So, but I'm sure he's busy right now. I know I actually talked to him earlier. I'm actually there should be some stuff with in his next video or one of his next videos with me in it. So
we could call Eric Raymond, but most of the audience probably wouldn't care.
Funny. I saw Wendell backflip i3. That's funny. Now build your second bicycle from scrap Dells.
Riding around on the fans. Yeah. No, it's like I really am tempted to, it's like a lot of people have bought the level 1 KVMs because I guess they're working from home lately, so that's nice. And it's like I'm looking on eBay and it's like, oh, there's all these industrial robots because MKBHD has that like $200,000 industrial camera robot, and it's not that level 1 needs an industrial camera robot. It's just
but like, it would be so cool.
Yeah, it's like I could do the software for that. Like that's one of the projects that I did as an undergrad is inverse kinematics calculations for servos. So like I could actually
you should be able to do that.
Yeah, so and then I look on eBay and it's like, oh, this industrial robot's only, it's like a $30,000 robot. It's like that's only $2,000. I could probably trade one of these systems for that. And then it's like, no, what are you doing? It's a terrible waste of money, especially now with like all of the thing going on. That's like,
I don't know.
But camera robot.
I might be a bad person to talk about it because I might convince you to actually get the robot.
Well, see, the thing is, it doesn't just stop with one. Because usually with me, like I'll buy one and then like experiment with it and get everything I can out of it, but it won't quite be what I want, and then so I'll usually need to buy like 2 or 3. And then
that's how it always is.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, I'm good to go. And it's like, well, I've got a Threadripper, but I know the 3175 is not as quite as good, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to pick up that CPU, and it's like, okay, for this CPU, I actually traded for things to get this CPU, which is fine. There's a kind supporter that we have for level 1, and he basically gave me a really good deal on trading some stuff for it. And well, he'd also overclocked the snot out of it and kind of abused it. So, but he still gave me a really good deal. That's like I didn't really need that. Didn't really, But it's at the same time, it's like, okay, I can confirm for myself. Yes, the Threadripper is superior in every way.
I think it's still a cool system. You got to figure that system came out a long time ago, like way before Threadripper came out. I saw a lot of people that would compare them, and I'm like, you do realize that this was actually shown probably like 2 years ago.
Well, see, that's funny though because you couldn't actually buy like this is a retail
I remember.
CPU, and they showed it at Computex 2018, but you couldn't buy it until May of 2019,
Yeah, it
and
was.
Threadripper came out 6 months later. So Threadripper 3000. So it's kind of like meh.
Yeah, I know. That's the weird aspect of it because I still remember. So when that whole thing went down, I guess there were some big issues with the 5 gigahertz. I guess so. I guess they did the Intel keynote, and they showed 5 gigahertz, but it was with a chiller, and then
Yeah.
everybody freaked out. Yeah.
Well,
No, I
it won't
remember
do 5 gigahertz, but it will do 4.5 ish.
ish. Well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, I would like to see what the Cascade Lake X one does compared to this one,
The
but
cache speed. That was the I thought of that while we were talking. The cache
yeah,
speed
but
is the other
usually.
big tweak.
Yeah, but usually with the stepping, that they usually improve on clockwise. So to see maybe an extra 100 megahertz might be possible.
Well,
Is kind of what I was leaning towards.
the cache speed on this, the best that I can do before the voltages just get completely insane is like 3.2,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's supposed to be able like most people can get 3.3, but the temperatures and voltages for me are just out of control. But on the Cascade
Yeah,
Lake Xeons, at least the 2066 socket ones, like 3.5 is attainable, and that is a big
yeah,
difference over the Skylake Xeons.
yeah. It's the same way when if you're looking into what the 18 core. What is that? The 1090?
Yep,
Is it the 10?
10980.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, the cache is really where it excels. I heard a lot of people were talking about the IMCs better, and to be honest, I haven't seen anything to that note where it's that much better compared to like a 9980 XE or a 7090 XE.
Mentat Tag says that the movie was called Total Recall with Arnold. No, the car wreck one, I'm pretty sure that was Judge Dredd.
I want to say Demolition Man is a lot like that one, though.
Or
I think they were
Demolition
around the
Man, yeah.
same.
See, I've already mentally, like, I gotta play the movie again and do the
Yeah,
thing,
but
and then.
to be honest, I feel like you could take scenes from each one. Like they're so similar in a lot of ways. They're just kind of like I don't know. They're just very similar because I'm basically confusing well a bunch of them.
I like the guy that's got the AI, the face replacement AI for movies, is not helping either because did you see the clip where they replaced everybody in the office?
Wow, with the are you talking about the one where they put the face of was it? Are you talking about The Office, the TV show?
Yeah, yeah. They
Oh, with Dwight, right?
yeah,
Wasn't it? Didn't it with Dwight's thing? Yeah, yeah.
like
That's
every face. But also, the first one that I saw was Fuller House. So if you look for that one, it's Ron Swanson on every character in Full House, even the Olsen twins with like the mustache and all the other. And it's Ron Swanson.
I
And it's
bet you
like
it looks
finally,
funny.
that's something I've been saying for years. Is like I will, my technology life will be complete when I can have a Lord of the Rings with Danny DeVito for every character.
That would be awesome. I love Danny DeVito. He's probably one of my favorite actors.
Hylian Overlord says the company I work for is making a vision-based proximity system if you want one. That sounds good. I'm using the other Tesla V100 to build the AI hotel from Altered Carbon.
You're doing the what? What?
I've got two V100s. The other one is I've been farting around with tying it into the security cameras. Tying it into H.264 and H.265 security cameras, and just
Mm-hmm.
doing motion analysis and face recognition and vehicle recognition and things like that from real-time video streams. And
Yeah.
the V100 just shreds through those kind of jobs really quickly. So
What do they run retail? Aren't those things like
like 7 grand.
$7,000 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, only $7,000. It's even more than that 64 core, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is wrong? And it's like, oh, I want a $2,000 robot, but again, it's like trading things and shuffling things around, and it's like, okay, there's got to be a line in the sand, this far, no farther. Plus, also the V100s I can actually use for some side projects that actually pay, whereas the robot would not be a thing.
Well, I don't know. I think we could probably be creative.
Dre4303 says, I've intended to join the Patreon, but have not gotten around to it yet, so here you go. Oh, thank you. From 1L Wendell to 2L Wendell.
The two
Take care and
L's.
be well. Which universe are you from? I'm from, C473 or whatever. C381. Universe C381 when is here to warn me about. We're on
Oh,
the
jeez.
finite elliptic curve, whatever. I don't know.
Sweetbeard has to be. He's too short to be a hobbit. Is that true? Can Danny DeVito be too short to be a hobbit?
No, it's CGI. I mean, we can fix it.
Yeah, but I feel like he's kind of a natural hobbit.
I really want to. The scene that I really am looking forward to is Danny DeVito at the scene where they're outside of Helm's Deep, I think, and like Legolas is flying around and shooting elephants and crap like that. Danny DeVito, I'm telling you, that scene is just magic.
Oh, every time I think of Danny DeVito, I always think of Throw Mama from the Chain. Like it's an old.
Yeah,
I just always think of that movie for some reason.
that was a good movie.
Yeah, but I can't remember the last time I saw it, but I still every time I think of Danny DeVito, I always think of that.
Maybe I'm just getting old, but a lot of those movies I never saw any of those movies in theaters. They were all on TV. But it just seems
What, you
like
mean that VHS tape?
yeah, or VHS tape. Yeah, it just seems like movies from that era were a lot more clever. Because like, there's a ton of Tom Hanks movies that I like. I mean, I don't. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just like The Man with One Red Shoe and Spies Like Us. And well, that's Dan Aykroyd and all the other people. So
It's funny. We were having this argument. So over here, I have a couple buddies. We were talking about who is more of a legendary actor. You have Tom Hanks versus, like, say, Harrison Ford. And then, like, after seeing, so like that, the argument of it was like I thought that Harrison Ford is a legend in his own time. Come in, I mean, for what he's done all over, but Tom Hanks is also like a different level too. Like it's hard to argue like who is a better actor.
I think somebody said something that I wanted to. Is it really true that DDR5 will come with ECC baked in, or did the press misunderstand stuff? So here's a mind blowing thing. DDR4 kind of has error correction built in. Dun 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 dun. What?
Dun.
Yeah, non-error correcting DDR4 has a mechanism to correct transmission from the memory to the CPU if something is lost in transit. So typically ECC memory corrects things that get corrupted at rest. So this is not that. There's still ECC DDR4 where you have extra physical memory chips that store extra redundant information so that when information is already lost, it can be recovered, at least one bit at a time. DDR4, in its transmission mechanism, has built-in error correction already. DDR5 just beefs that up. So DDR5 is still going to have non-ECC, non-ECC variants, but they're beefing up the number and layers of that correction because the signal to noise ratio and all the other stuff, you can't not have error correction. Spoiler alert, inside of Threadripper CPUs, there's a lot of ECC stuff going on that most people are not aware of, like cache and stuff like that. And that's part of what the FIT algorithm, seems to me, at least anyway, uses to figure out if the CPUs is crapping its pants or not.
I like the analogy. Crapping its pants.
I see that you're finished with your video conference calls. The tie on the doorknob acts as a tie hanger, a true slacker. Yes, that is actually what that is there for. Hey, what's a good card to see for a DS4243 disk shelf? Any LSI based controller, like I use it like the 9200 series. You can check out the video that I did with Steve. Gamers Nexus storage server thing. That is the highest end LSI controller that you should use with that disk shelf because it's got 4 U.2 connections. And I broke 2 of the U.2 connections out to the mini SAS or the external version, and then the other 2 could go to caching or whatever. That's not a RAID controller; it's just an HBA. HBM2 does it have ECC capability? It depends on the implementation. And I think the answer is yes, because like the Tesla V100 has a software toggle for ECC on or off. And you have to run it off when you're going to use the card in a mode where you're loading a graphics driver for like workstation type loads. But you turn it on when you're going to do compute workloads or certain high density applications.
Yes, sir. I'm surprised it hasn't dwindled down more and become more less expensive. But
Where do
do
you
you
see
think we'll ever
desktop?
see that?
What? Will ever see what?
Where we see HBM take over?
Oh,
Because remember,
I think HBM has got to move on CPU. I'm surprised, honestly, that has not already happened. I'm expecting like 8 or 16 gigabytes to just go right on the CPU, and if you need more than 16 gigabytes of memory, then you still add in cards, but your working set lives in 16 gigs. I don't see it. What else we could do? That's the next most low hanging fruit.
it brings you up to that question that someone tech fan just put up about the where do you see the desktop in the next 5 years?
Oh yeah, and what infrastructure teams will look like in the next 5 to 10 years. It's all software. Everything, even hardware, is software. So like if you really want to blow your mind, look at what Liquid is doing and look at what Packet, the host, is doing. They provision hardware, real physical hardware, just like Amazon containers. That
Yep.
is what is that's what everything is going to. Literally everything.
It's
So
been for a while, to
yeah,
be honest. Like they were doing, what is it, Kubernetes is one? Like,
yeah, well, it goes even like all of the shortcomings of Kubernetes is really like more about fleet management, and you
yeah.
just have a billion little tiny containers that some of them may be running on the same host, some of them may be running somewhere else, and you get some redundancy from that. But like, let's say that I come up with like the perfect quote unquote managed service provider plan for a dentist's office. It's like we're going to use SoftDent, which is whatever. That's Dentrix is terrible. We use SoftDent, or Dentrix
Yep.
is amazing and SoftDent is terrible. Whatever. Those are two pieces, different competing kind of pieces of dental office management software. We're going to do Active Directory in the cloud. We're going to do a workstation thing. We got PII. We got HIPAA. We got checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. I'm literally going to write a manifest, a piece of like this is defining my infrastructure. This is the rules. This is the things that we have to do for HIPAA compliance. This is the user password. This is this. This is this. This is this. I do that one time, and that is more complicated than any one dentist office is willing to deal with. But
Yeah.
I do that, and then I just copy paste that into Amazon or Azure or wherever, and all of my infrastructure is set up. That is that's already here today, but in 5 years, the lag time of you will have there will be no economic alternative to doing it any other way because people that have that recipe are going to eat everybody else's lunch. Like, you simply cannot manage an office because of the security and information requirements doing it any other way. It's like, oh, I'm just going to set up a peer-to-peer network and set up a file share and blah, blah, blah. They're going to get crypto and they're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
So it's got to be done according to the recipe, and that is going to drive literally everything. And the whole autopilot two-factor thing I was talking about earlier, that's how everything is going to run. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be cloud services because Microsoft, I think, is doing this faster than Amazon is, and this might be one way that Amazon gets it. Because Amazon, if you give them a bunch of money, they'll let you run Amazon services, quote unquote. Like, you can have your own custom region. And so it's like, I'm going to deploy stuff in my region, but it's actually deploying it on owned hardware, so the cost is very low. That's actually really good. And I think Amazon is planning to release that, but Microsoft already beat it to it. So I can deploy Windows servers and services at the edge or physically inside a company, and I can use cloud services when I need to, but there's no beating that local infrastructure. And it provisions exactly the same way with the same APIs as everything else. And people on Linux have already been doing that, but not a lot of the Fortune 500 is using Linux to that extent, but that is where it's going.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. I think there was another question I saw in there. What do you think about clouds in the future? Do you ever think that people are going to come back from them?
We could, near the end of the stream is like the beginning of the stream. The speed of light is a cruel mistress. So the cloud eventually, like, you're not going to displace the speed of light. We're not going to have, Ansible FTL communication, probably in my lifetime. I mean, I'll be delighted if we do, but probably not.
You never know.
The cloud is going to be right outside your house, or you're going to have something in your house that is masking the latency of the cloud. So the cloud is going to get lower and lower and lower altitude until it's the fog.
The fog?
Yeah, and then you're just going to be wandering around the fog, and it's like, Am I on top of Mount Everest or am I on the ground? I don't know. And so some of your data will be local and some of your services will be local, but it'll also be cloud connected.
Yeah, my only worries about is security wise, and then sometimes like if you're dealing with say like Office 365, which I think is Microsoft
Yep.
365 now,
Well,
but like think
yeah.
when things break, there's like almost no responsibility anymore. Back in the old days when we used to run a bunch of servers, say I ran a bunch of Exchange servers, right, for the whole company, like I would be the guy that goes, "Oh, you got to go fix this." You know what I mean? But like with the cloud stuff, the engineer is really hidden behind all that. He just needs to get it fixed. Doesn't
Yep.
necessarily have to give you too much info. That's one of the things I'm not too crazy about with the cloud, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with the
because I
Exchange
like to fix
example,
my own stuff.
if it were architected more in a more distributed fashion, so like Kubernetes could play a role there.
Yeah,
Um, all of your Exchange stuff would be local, and so like when your local thing is on fire and dies, it doesn't matter. You can still pull it from the internet. And
yeah,
a lot of things are already like that, like the Netflix caching servers and even the Steam. Like we have a local Steam caching server here in the office, and it's amazing. But every now and then it's down, and the Steam client is smart enough to be like, all right, this Joker idiot ISP has a Steam cache server. It's not working. We'll just pull it from the internet. It's fine. It's built with that resiliency in mind. Exchange might just be a
yeah.
modified version of Microsoft Access. So it might not have the same redundancy built in, but Microsoft having to build and dog food Office 365 has certainly taken them in different directions architecturally. And so now they're like, oh man, we need to make this thing not a horrible, unstable ball of duct tape and baling wire. So it's getting better, I think, but it would not have gotten better had they not experienced all the horrible ways that Exchange in the cloud can fail because it can't scale and is poorly engineered.
Oh man, I did a lot of Exchange migrations back in the day. I did 5.5 to 2000 and then 2003. After 2003 actually made it simple. Doing Exchange 2000 was a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh,
That's how I learned
I've
directory programming.
I've done a few of those. I did I got to the point where anything older than Exchange 2003, I wrote com automation to automate Office because I was doing these migrations after like Office 2003 was available. So it was not like immediately these were legacy people that should have upgraded a long ago. And so they were like
Yeah,
on
yeah.
SBS 5.0 and 5.5, a couple NT 4.0 machines in there. And I literally would do the Exchange migrations by com automation of Outlook because that was the least broken way to do it. And it would just export everything to a file, and then I would cut over to the new Exchange, and then it would bring it back in, and it was all automated, and that worked better than the tools that Microsoft gave you to do the migration.
Yeah, back then there was some because that's actually how I got into like directory sync. So I started doing more like out the LDAP development. Like I've worked with so many different directories, like like Sun One and like back in the day you had like the Netscape directory, stuff like that. I mean, I used to write to like Exchange 5.5 directories and like Active Directory, even like Novell stuff.
I had a few Novell systems. Novell was
Yeah.
amazing until they added Windows.
Until what?
They added Windows.
To be honest, dude, I'm actually a CNE in version
Nice.
version 5, I think. I'm
Yeah.
actually an MCSE too, an NT4.
Well, they don't do that anymore, but yeah. Hylian
Yeah.
Overlord says, "Here's the link to the Vision system." Well, thank you.
What happened?
There's a commercial Vision system that they want me to look at, so I will take a look at it.
Gotta look at it.
People detection and alerting system. I've got this already with just OpenCV. I mean, I'm sure this is better because somebody's actually put money into it. But I kind of have that with the security cameras already because it's like welcome Mrs. Whoever in the morning, and it's like, okay, that's not creepy. Super creepy.
That's not creepy. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, did you see? I think it was Roman that with the 3950X laptop, something like that.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I didn't watch the video yet, but it was like
I
yes.
didn't. I didn't watch the whole video. I'm still waiting for my liquid nitrogen pots from Roman anyway. I bust on them almost daily, or
I talked to
every time.
somebody at Acer, and it was like, "Hey, can I have a laptop?" And they were like, "What are you gonna do with it?" And I was like, "I'm gonna put a 3950X in it," and then no reply. I was like, "Hello?" No reply.
Service Pack 7 for Windows NT4.
Oh yeah, the service packs was always rolling the dice because it was like, "Oh, is my SCSI RAID solution slightly unstable? Installing a service pack will let me know."
Oh man. So Steve Burley again. The company I use for uses SharePoint as our collaboration platform. What do you think of SharePoint? Would you recommend it? SharePoint's a royal pain. I do a lot of SharePoint stuff. What some of the identity products I do are hosted on a as a SharePoint site, and SharePoint's pretty painful as it is if you're managing the servers and stuff like that.
it depends on how they're using SharePoint. If they're just using it for
But
document
exactly.
storage and it's forward compatible, it's probably not terrible. Although it
Yeah.
is slower than Christmas, and the like you should only run the cloud version because the only people that can understand how to run it properly is Microsoft. It's like I'm going to run it on small business server. That's not even a thing anymore. They don't even sell small business server anymore. Really, like a proper small business server. It's
Yeah.
just front end for cloud services, and you get like the branch cache bullshit, and it's like, oh look, this is a small business server, which is really just a front end for the cloud, and it's like we've gone 7 steps backwards. There was a company that had perfect Exchange 2003 compatibility on Linux, uh,
Really? That's
and
wild.
Novell bought them, and then I actually wrote a letter to the CEO of Novell, like many. This is probably like 2005, and it was like, you have the solution. Like with this acquisition, this is amazing. Here's what you need to do, and you will take over Small Business America because Microsoft is going to sell you a subscription to the software, and you need to
Sure
do this
enough.
with your product. And I never got a reply, but I was exactly right in everything that I said in that email to him because I was like, this
Called it.
product is
Nailed it.
amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, well, Novell was pretty epic for making bad decisions, right? So they had all the because they had their software was really good, right? Like, I mean, to be honest, they would run a Windows server better than the Windows would run. So,
Yeah.
like, if you're like NT4 days, basically, if you put the Novell client on there and you're working with like NT4 domains and stuff, it was like it felt old, right? But when they started doing like eDirectory, when they had a directory access, or what is it? I can't even remember it now. But basically, they really had the base, like Active Directory, pretty much they stole that kind of from them. Really, you know what I mean?
Well, they really no. You're not. Uh, I had the first time that I ever had like this was when I was just starting out in my career. Um, the first time that I had like a $250 steak dinner, I had a bet with a guy, and he was the IT director, and I was just like a junior upstart idiot, and it was the bet was basically I bet that I can get a system running with no Microsoft software or licensing that Windows systems will interface with. It will be a domain controller, and you get Exchange and DNS and directory services, um, an email and like a wiki kind of thing, and it will be faster than Windows. And I think it was right before Windows 2000 came out, or right after Windows 2000 came out. And so Windows 2000, the client was available, but the server was like, no one should actually do that. Um, and so I set up Samba and that Exchange compatible software. I've forgotten what that's called. Um,
Hey,
but
hey,
it was hugely complicated to set all this up. Like everything was a different step, and like DNS was a huge pain in the ass, and like everything was a huge pain in the ass, and it was like its own little ecosystem of stuff.
hey, real quick.
Uh huh.
I guess we're getting a little infiltrated here with some bots. Is there any way you can kind of kick some off, or you
Uh,
can or make me an admin? Be careful what you ask for.
which one is it? There's something in the
I,
chat, and I could probably moderate you.
I want to say, actually, I don't know now. I think it was that. Was it Tori Rashad? I don't know now. I try to only. I don't know. I thought there was a bunch of porn bots in here. I think it. Do you see any? Oh no 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 no.
I think I made you a moderator,
Uh,
so you can fix it while I'm rambling. Um,
Why you're rambling?
yeah, but they were using they were still using WordPerfect, and so like bringing up the network drive because it had a million directories on it on Linux was at least 2 orders of magnitude faster than Windows. Like Windows would just sit there and churn and churn and churn and churn because there were so many directories, and Linux would just be like, bloop, here you go. And I think it's because it pre-sorted them because Windows would have to get the whole list and then it would sort it and then it would show it to you. And so I got a free steak dinner because the technology director was like, "No, there's no way." And after that, he was like, I can't believe how much better this works." And there was like one quote unquote problem user that had a giant Exchange mailbox, and I was like, "Look how much better this works!" And it was just like the Mappy emulation, and I was like, look at this, isn't this amazing?" He was just like, this is incredible. How does it load his mailbox so fast? And I was like, "How much memory is in this computer?" And I was like 16 megabytes. He's just like, "What is happening? What? Everything that I know is a lie." So he bought me steak dinner. It was really nice.
Oh man, I'm trying to get some of these. Oh, I used to get them pretty bad on my channel when you hit a certain level and all of a sudden, but this one's hard to see.
There come the bots. Lawyers are still using WordPerfect. You know what is the other lesson from that? So like those old paralegals that were really fast with WordPerfect for DOS, they never recovered their speed in Office. And I would say that like the whole it's fascinating because the whole user input buffering strategy between like WordPerfect for DOS and Windows is completely different. So like WordPerfect for DOS, when you needed to like reformat a document or whatever, the people would just, sit there and like bang on the keyboard, and they were far outpacing the computer. The computer could not keep up with like the document reformatting, especially on longer documents and paging and blah blah blah. But the people just kept going. On Windows, you can't do that. It just ignores you, or it directs your input to the wrong thing, or like you've got the wrong context. So like in Word, if you're doing like Control O and then you start typing a file name or try to get to a shortcut or a network drive or whatever, if you don't wait for the thing to pop up, it doesn't actually like do anything with the stuff that you're typing. It just sends the stuff that you're typing to whatever is there before Control O happens. So it's really, really, really moronic.
What's going on here? I feel like we have a bunch that are like, I don't know. We'll put them in a timeout. I think we got all of them now. Yeah, I think we're good. You still there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Good.
What's your recommendation for someone learning on their own home lab? Raspberry Pi, hypervisors? Just get some old shitty computers and start having fun.
That's the best. To be honest, that's the best way to learn. Is just see. I don't know. You'll find a lot of companies that kind of give away machines after.
Yeah.
Uh, like you'd be surprised. That's how I learned networking. I got like 8 or 9 machines. I think they were like 386s or 286s that someone gave me, and man, I started networking them all together, and that's how you figure it out because you don't really care if you're gonna break it. It's not like you want to go buy that awesome Threadripper and then go in and all of a sudden you put in memory wrong or something and you basically kill it. I mean, it's you got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been times where I've been working with somebody and they're like, "Man, I wish I had a computer to learn more about Active Directory," and it's like, "Let's go to the basement. Here you go. Have a server."
There we go. Man, they're driving me nuts. You missed Anastasia. Yeah, I got that one. Well, they're getting a little creative now. Like they're acting like real users in a certain way. Oh, here's another one.
That's some engagement. It's slowing us down. It's interfering with my vibe.
I know, right?
All
Oh
right,
man,
we've been live for almost 2 hours. How do we want to wrap this up?
how much longer do we want to wrap it up, or what do
Yeah,
you think?
yeah. Or what do we like? There's a lot of people here. Anybody else have any questions? We've been answering questions.
Yeah, let's go for some Q and A's, man. Let's take a couple questions and then we can basically kill it. I don't remember Active Directory. Ooh, Active Directory with Samba. Have you ever, dude? I have. You want to talk about Samba?
Yeah, well, so
Not
yeah. I
not the
mean,
Samba Samba.
Active Directory with well, I always call it Samba, but yeah,
Yeah.
Active Directory with Samba is fine. The hardest part is like the crypto because sometimes Microsoft is like, "Look at us, we're gonna do crypto," and then Samba's like, "What? Yeah, what now?" And so it's not always a fun situation, but generally it's fine. It's usually DNS. Like the secret there is like, oh, we got to run Windbind and blah blah blah, and it's like, well, it's not really that bad. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Ooh, have you gotten insomnia cookies yet? Did you get insomnia cookies?
Yeah,
Why is somebody?
that was we had insomnia or no, yeah, we had insomnia cookies. Probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I'm trying to think how long I've been quarantined. It was like we did it on one of the game streams, and it's just it's a restaurant. They only make cookies, but they make lots of different kinds of cookies. You get cookies and ice cream from there, and they're open until 3 a.m.
Nice.
They're not doing well with the quarantine and lockdown.
Well, a lot of the food places are getting royally screwed. It's kind
Yeah,
of bad. Like I feel bad for a lot of around here. We have a lot of breweries and stuff. I don't really drink anymore, but like I have a lot of friends that work at the breweries and like all around, and like all those people do not have work right now. It's absolutely insane.
yeah. That's why I say it's like the long tail. It's like we're in IT, and it's like, oh, everything's fine for us. It's like, no, that's a very short view of things. Now
Yeah.
it's probably not a time to be making any large purchases at all.
What do you mean? You don't want to buy a robot? You know? I'm kind of digging the robot. I kind of want the robot, if you know what I mean.
ZenPay? I don't know. Somebody says, did you do multipath SAS on your shelf? I did.
Nice. Oh, you know what? Have you looked into any of the raid cards that do M2 or do
Uh,
NVMe? NVMe?
uh, yes, but
Like, I'm not saying server level. I'm saying more like desktop level. So like your normal guy that basically can go in and put up a PCIe drive and then do raid through NVMe drives.
so soft RAID is probably the way that you want to go. Although that means not a boot drive on Linux. Um, and so that's not super a lot of fun. The problem is that the controllers, the CPUs on the RAID controllers, are slower than the NVMe. So by the time you get a RAID controller that is fast enough,
Yeah.
um, it's not a good situation.
I was looking at something. I can't remember the name now, but there was something I was looking. I don't know if what the hell am I stuck on? Oh, there we go. But yeah, there's a card that I wanted to get just to put in like 4 NVMe drives just to play around. But anyways, yeah, everybody wants. So I like that. Everyone needs a cameraman robot. I think you need one there, Wendell.
We'll call it Poe. Hang on, my laptop battery died. Let me get the charger. I'll be right back. You can answer questions from chat.
Yes, we'll go over Ybor City is wild. Yeah, that's right by me actually. Well, not right by me, but close enough. It is a crazy place. I bet you it's totally like dead right now because nobody's down there. Let's see. I have Dell servers with NVMe like perk card. The 8x lanes seem to be a limitation. That's interesting. Gigabyte has one. Do you have a Roomba i7 for the office? You know, I had one of the original Roombas like years ago. They were pretty good. Caught on some slack. Definitely. Let's see. I think it uses a motherboard NVMe. I thought there was something bootable from it, but maybe I could be wrong. I had a Roomba. It died. It was very sad. The problem with I think the Roomba is like I don't know. I have animals, so I have a dog, and my dog. If you ever had an animal that had an accident inside, the last thing you want is a Roomba going over it. It's a little weird. Bearded Hardware, cameraman or women drone? Or woman drone? Okay, so Wendell, I'm going to make a special request. We need a woman robot.
We need Crushinator. That's what we need.
And Ryan D, yeah, I live in the Tampa area, so I am in that area. I love it down here. We got some great weather. It's probably going to be a boat day tomorrow. A much needed long boat day.
Steve Burley says that he's writing on developing an AI algorithm to work with our SQL SCADA system to automatically schedule preventative maintenance for our mechanics. Help me. You know what's really interesting is there's a guy that I know at a company that makes wire. They manufacture wire, and he's gotten so good. Like all of the analytics. I mean, it's like web analytics, but all the analytics from the machines that make wire goes into a database, and you don't need AI for it. He's gotten good enough to be like, okay, when this counter on this machine is saying that the wire is deviating by this much, that means that in about X thousand more feet of wire, this bearing is gonna give out, or it's gonna need some kind of maintenance or whatever. So he's gotten to the point where he just like sniffs the analytics data coming out of all of the automation and is like, okay, this needs maintenance this often, this needs maintenance this often, and it's just stats. It's just lots and lots of stats.
That's crazy. But he's pretty good at lots of stats.
Yeah. And the company's like, how are you doing this? And he's like, it's AI PhD magic. But really, it's just, no, I got a lot of spreadsheets.
I got a lot of spreadsheets. That's how you dumb it down, right? Like, that's kind of funny. The Roomba that screams when it bumps into stuff. Yeah. I'm not so sure. I think someone said they miss baseball. I miss sports in general. I'm not I really like baseball. That's kind of mine. I used to play baseball a lot when I was younger. But it's kind of weird without I usually obviously I have like a big studio and have a lot of computers and screens up all the time. Like I usually have baseball up in the corner like running cuz really watching it's kind of a pain in the butt, you know. Like it's kind of boring, like it's kind of some games are like you have either a really good game or a really bad game, and I think that there's a lot of bad games too. But at least there's like good audience. Like I always put it out so there's like noise in the background, you know. And I feel kind of like weird without that. It's kind of weird that we need some of that. I'm surprised the esports hasn't really. Well, I guess it is taken, but it's not like competitive wise.
My favorite, and it's a little bit of Schadenfreude, but my favorite is the Formula One racers doing the esports thing because it's like one of these things is not like the other.
Well, it actually reminds me. I wanted to do a overclocking competition, but for like everybody, not just like you don't need liquid nitrogen. Just basically where everybody could join and kind of do something like an esports, you know, where you could take your system and all the different systems and you can overclock it to a point and compare. But I've been trying to think of different ways to do that because usually at Computex, as you know, we usually do the OC World Cup and we do the world record stage, and we don't have that happening. It's kind of depressing, you know. Usually because we put a lot of work in that, and like we've been for weeks now trying to figure out like what we were gonna do, and obviously like for a while we didn't even know that like there was like what was gonna happen with Computex because you know for the longest time they didn't like tell us what's gonna happen, right? Like it took
everything
forever.
Is fine in Taiwan. We will be fine. And then the entire rest of the world collapsed, and they were like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, that was a little. I don't know. I was kind of hoping. I don't know. I miss like this is going to be the first time in like 6 years that I've not been going to Taiwan during what is it, Memorial Day? I always forget whatever I always confuse Labor Day and Memorial Day because usually those times I'm in Taiwan. So this is going to be the first time in like 6 years that I'm not going to Taiwan, and it feels extremely weird.
I've never been to Taiwan in September, so that's going to be really weird too because it's probably going to be not quite as blisteringly hot.
It's actually pretty nice there. So if anybody really wants to know what Taiwan's like, come to Tampa because it's pretty much it's the same thing with mountains basically. Like it's along the same lines on the equator. It was actually really funny. I had some friends talking about, yeah, it got really cold here, and I was like, wait a second, it just got cold here too. I was like, that's strange. Like it's very weird to see a correlation between Taiwan and here. Like, but it's pretty interesting.
If the trend continues, there's going to be a correlation between there, Taiwan, and Antarctica.
Go say it again. You cut out on me.
Oh, I said if the global trends continue, it's going to be the same thing as there and Taiwan and Antarctica.
Because, oh yeah, right.
they did like a core sample in Antarctica, and they found an incredibly well preserved tropical rainforest. It's only 90 million years old, so there's not really been that much continental drift since then. So apparently, Antarctica used to not be a frozen wasteland.
Really? Like, could have fooled me. All right. What do you want to do there, Wendell?
I don't know. Does anybody else have any other questions? I put where to find you in the description. You should check out Bearded Hardware. There's a link there.
Yeah, we should be doing probably. I'm gonna do a boat day during the day tomorrow, but we'll probably end up doing another stream tomorrow. Maybe I'll have Wendell on my stream.
You got unlimited data. Stream from the boat.
That's the problem. Yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
I know somebody that has an iPhone, and they were showing me like the streaming application and like the camera for the iPhone, and it's frustrating how the iPhone just does an amazing job with streaming, and it doesn't get hot and it doesn't kill the battery, and it's like, wow, you could actually like put videos together on the iPad and or iPhone. And
it's true. When I was in Taiwan last year, and I really wasn't even prepared to do like any type of streaming. I have some streams they're totally rudimentary because I never even thought at Computex that I could stream on a phone. And I used my iPhone through that, and it actually worked. I was trying to use like a GoPro and stuff like that, and that was just a nightmare. That software is probably one of the worst software I've ever seen on an iPhone because you got to go through the GoPro to the iPhone through the internet connection, and you have to do like Wi-Fi, enable it, and then
yeah. It's just, but the iPhone's camera is just as amazing and fine.
Exactly. Well, they're small sensors, so like. The iPhone is pretty much better than the one. Can't tie up on a sandbar. Yeah, that's the one. So the reason why I want to go out on a boat tomorrow is basically because I feel like they're going to shut down the boat ramps, and I need to get a day out before they lock us in again. You know what I mean? Yeah, so as long as you stay away from people.
Here's to hoping you avoid human contact during that excursion.
Hey, I was doing that way before this thing happened, so I try to keep only good people in my life. You know what I
mean? No overclocking, only boating.
Exactly. Well, I've always wanted to do which I will do one of these days. I'm gonna overclock on an island. I'm not sure I could get away with doing that right now because if I were to go take my liquid nitrogen doer, get the boat going, and I go on an island right now, there's a lot of police that go out right now. I have a feeling they would totally freak out if I like started pouring liquid nitrogen, smokes going everywhere.
It's like, what are you doing? It's a publicity stunt. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I'm in international waters. It's fine.
Right? So, but yeah, so I don't know. Van life today. Do you do van life?
No, Krista's super into van life, though. I mean, she's fascinated by it, but doesn't want to participate in it. It's sort of the Schrodinger's van life.
That's kind of funny. I thought about it, but the problem is I'm too big for a damn van. Like, I need like a super sized like bus. I mean, I have actually a trailer now, but it's not doing me any well. Might have to live in it soon, with whatever goes on. But
when I was a kid, we went camping a few times because we could also go like fishing and hunting, so it was like free food, like free good food, and that was just a miserable experience. So I have no desire to do that ever again.
It's funny. You gotta glamp a little bit,
Yeah, that's what Krista does.
Yeah, glamping is not so bad.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to sign out. We'll catch everybody later. Thanks for hanging out. Maybe if I can
All right,
find
slackers.
the thing. Mint Tag says $5 more is like, I'm an industrial automation engineer. Talk to me about preventative and predictive maintenance. It's just spreadsheets. That's all it is. Just
It's all
spreadsheets.
spreadsheets.
Lot of spreadsheets. Lots.
Lots.
You'd be surprised what kind of things you can tease out of the data. And spoiler alert, the people that can manage that kind of data in this job market right now, like 6 figures. It's scary.
No.
All right. Good night, everybody.
All right, slackers.
There's the button.
Whenever Wendell gets the button.